Greetings. Welcome to Hangouts with HIVE. Today's topic is PrEP awareness campaigns, including women. My name is Yamini Oseguera-Bhatnagar, and I am the Power Health Coordinator at HIVE, a hub for positive reproductive and sexual health. Is PrEP awareness campaigns, including women. My name is Yamini Oseguera-Bhatnagar, and I am the Power Health Coordinator at HIVE, a hub for positive reproductive and sexual health. Okay. Back to our broadcast. Happy Monday. Today is the 21st of November, 2016, and I'm broadcasting live from San Francisco. This is our 9th Hangout and in our Hangouts with HIVE series, and we have reached over 1,300 people so far, and we're very excited about it. And that's not including today's event. Why are we talking about PrEP awareness campaigns for women? PrEP was approved as an effective HIV prevention tool back in 2012, which was 4 years ago. In 2015, the CDC concluded that 468,000 women in the US had indications for PrEP to prevent HIV. The uptake of PrEP by women has been estimated around 19,000 women, and there are still 449,000 women that could benefit from PrEP. Focus groups and survey data have found that the lack of overall awareness about PrEP as a viable option for women has much to do with this low uptake. The lack of awareness is by providers as well as by women themselves. We pulled together this panel today to highlight some of the great work happening throughout the country to raise PrEP awareness for women, and I'm joined by some really amazing colleagues today. And without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them to you. Let's start with Adriana. Adriana Andaluz is the Director of External Affairs for the Bureau of HIV/AIDS at the NYC Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. She oversees the development of priority policy initiatives, guides the Bureau's community engagement efforts, and directs the Bureau's social marketing and new media activities. Thanks, Adriana, for being with us. Alan McCord is the Director of Education at Project Inform. His HIV work has spanned 30 years in community outreach and technical assistance in capacity building and treatment and prevention education. Alan is from Northeast Ohio to Greater Newark, New Jersey, and now nationally from San Francisco. Thanks, Alan. Bradford Briggs is the PrEP Services Manager at AIDS Project New Haven, Connecticut. AIDS Project New Haven runs PrEPNav.org, which is a local resource for PrEP information and navigation for Connecticut. Thanks for being with us, Bradford. Caroline Watson is the Social Justice and Communications Coordinator at HIVE. She is also in a serodifferent marriage and has an HIV-negative daughter. Caroline is responsible for developing and managing the communication strategy at HIVE, which includes running the social media campaigns and the Share Your Story campaign, which you all will hear about in a few minutes. Courtney Boyce is the Public Health Communicator for Octane Public Relations and serves as the Account Supervisor for Washington, D.C.'s HIV/AIDS, Hepatitis, STD, Tuberculosis Administration at the Department of Health, where she manages the hashtag DC Takes on HIV and many other sexual health campaigns. Thanks for joining us, Courtney. Jim Pickett is the Director of Prevention, Advocacy, and Gay Men's Health at AIDS Foundation of Chicago. He leads the efforts around Chicago's PrEP for Love social marketing campaign. Thanks for joining us, Jim. Kate Collier is from the Research and Evaluation Department at Planned Parenthood of NYC, New York City, where she works on research related to new programs and services and evaluation related to HIV prevention and supportive services. Thanks for joining, Kate. Shannon Weber is the Director of HIVE and the founder of PrEPNav.org. She is passionate about creating a world where women have sex and babies when, where, and how they want to. Uh-oh. Trina Scott is the Program Manager, Health Communications and Media Partnerships at Kaiser Family Foundation in Washington, D.C. She is responsible for developing and managing partnerships with national leadership and community organizations, managing large-scale community activations, and serving as primary liaison with Greater Than AIDS ambassadors. Thanks for joining us, Trina. I guess there's a little buffering going on. Hi, Trina. All right. Uh-oh. Okay, I thank each of you for taking your time to be here today and share the knowledge and skills that you've acquired through your work. I want to say a little bit about HIVE. I'm sorry that this is, okay. A little bit about HIVE. HIVE has been around since 1989, and it used to be formerly the Bay Area Perinatal AIDS Center, and has provided preconception and prenatal care to women and couples affected by HIV. Since 2004, all babies born in San Francisco have been free of HIV. Our mission is to advance reproductive and sexual wellness for individuals, families, and communities affected by HIV in San Francisco and beyond. And our vision is to see a world where people affected by HIV have safe pregnancies, reproductive autonomy, access to state-of-the-art healthcare, and enjoyable sex lives. A couple of tips for viewers as we delve into the content of the hour. We'll broadcast for the next 60 minutes. During this time, as you listen to our awesome panelists, think about questions that you may have for them, and you can ask them in two ways. One way is to simply add comments in the YouTube live page that you're viewing this Hangout through, and another is to text your questions if you don't have a Google account or have a hard time navigating the YouTube live page. You can go ahead and text your questions to area code 415-842-2722. If you like what you're hearing, also join us on Twitter using the hashtag #Where'sMyPrep. Throughout this Hangout, we will use a lot of other hashtags as well, but you'll be able to capture it all if you just visit hashtag #Where'sMyPrep. With that, I'd like to turn over to our first presenter of the hour to tell us about how PrEPNav.org, women's page, and women's materials came to be. Shannon Weber, take it away.
Thank you. So exciting to share with so many good folks. The PrEPNav.org is a location-responsive, searchable California PrEP provider directory. And the effort was really rooted in advocacy. We really wanted to map the rollout of PrEP as it happened. And we were always from the beginning very inclusive, wanting to try to identify gay, women, and trans-friendly PrEP providers. Challenge for another conversation. So when we began to work with local providers here in San Francisco, and specifically when a PrEP navigator named Miranda Nordell was hired, she was very friendly and open to including women in her outreach. And right away, she got feedback from potential consumers that they didn't see any women in the campaigns that were being hung up around Ward 86 and in the Department of Health clinics. And so we sat down and chatted, and we said, hey, a simple thing that we could do is create a little card and actually just add the word for women and also with the words for men. So I wanted to show this here now to say that simple addition for women made it possible that there was then a card that she could start passing out to folks. There began to be more interest from other providers, and with some of the pioneering work by Dr. Dominica Seidman, who's a family planning fellow here in San Francisco, Miranda and Nika began to do trainings at different clinics. And people started to ask back, well, how do we actually screen women for PrEP? And you all know this is a much bigger conversation that we're still grappling with it as well, but we said, if they're asking for a tool, we want to make something to help them. And so we looked at the local epi data for San Francisco and looked at who were the women in San Francisco that were getting new infections, and could we try and develop a screening tool that would be supportive of these frontline workers as they were beginning to screen women for PrEP. So this card that I'm about to show you was created specifically for 3 clinics in San Francisco. 1, the prenatal clinic, 2, the abortion clinic, and 3 new generations, the youth clinic. And all of the frontline workers there have been trained, and it's been updated in the electronic medical record so that this data can be captured. And they've all been trained to ask one question. Do you have a partner that's living with HIV, that has sex with men, or injects drugs? And if any of the women who are screened at intake answer yes, then they are given this card that has a little bit more information about PrEP for women, and it refers them to the Miranda Nordell, who's amazing at navigating folks for PrEP. Now, it was hard, as you might imagine, for us to fit this kind of inclusive language on a small palm card. We wanted to try and use we messaging. So instead of making it sound like PrEP is for other women that are not like us, we really sat there and said, how can we make this sound like we're in that group of women who think about using PrEP? And that could be you too. And so to solve the space issue, we decided to link out to this page, which is on the front of the card. Learn more, please PrEPNav.org/women. And there we curated a bunch of resources that we thought would be helpful for women based in San Francisco thinking about PrEP. Now, lots of these resources link back to HIVE, because we are HIVE Clinic, and that's a lot of our local work is branded around HIVE. But we realized that the HIVE brand resonated more with women who were in known serodifferent relationships. And the Please Prep Me brand resonated more with women who were in unknown status partner relationships or had multiple partners. So we went with the Please Prep Me brand, but linked back to resources with Project Inform and HIVE. We've learned that there's real value in having this living web page, because we're only really committed to this short run of printing that we did for these cards, which we could update next time. But we can always update those resources that are on the web page as more things become available. This card and this implementation is rolling out right now, so I look forward to having more news down the road about how it works, but we're super open to feedback, and we would love to hear from folks what you think of the card and the web page. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. I love that Please Prep Me is so rooted in advocacy and really making it work on the ground within the abortion clinic, within New Generation Youth Clinic, as well as prenatal care. Thank you so much for all of your work. I would now like to turn over to Adriana to talk to us about the Play Sure campaign out of New York City. Adriana? Adriana, we don't hear you.
Hi, sorry about that. It was on mute, of course. All right, so let me start again. So I wanted to start off by speaking a little bit about why we decided to include women in our campaign. As is true in most large urban areas, women of color, both cis and trans women, are disproportionately impacted by HIV. More than 9 out of every 10 women newly diagnosed with HIV in New York City is a woman of color. And from the quotes you can see on the bottom of this screen, from our focus groups, it is evident that cisgendered women do not perceive themselves to be at risk for HIV, are not aware of PrEP, and some are not ready to accept PrEP as a viable prevention option. So these are some of the images, some of our creatives. To increase awareness of PrEP, we set out to create a really fun, inclusive, and sex-positive campaign and include combination prevention messaging. We also brought condoms into the conversation to make sure we included STI prevention in the story. And as you can see, we also included really well-known trans people in our campaign, Seven King and Carmen Carrera. They're at the bottom of the screen. As you can see from this slide, we saturated the city with our Play Sure campaign. This was launched last World AIDS Day. To some extent, Carmen Carrera became our spokesperson. She had been a part of a previous campaign and was really eager to be a part of this campaign. So in terms of how to include images that resonated with New York City women, we always wanted to keep our campaign objectives in mind: promotion of PrEP, HIV treatment, and condom use using inclusive sex-positive images and messaging. An equally important part was to test our messaging and creatives with representative groups, young women of color and trans women. So we were really lucky. We got a lot of really great earned media, as you can see from this. However, we still encountered some challenges. As with any campaign, we really weren't able to represent every experience of every New York City woman. we did our best to be inclusive, but it really would have been cost prohibitive to include images that represented every woman in New York City. We did, however, use data to inform which populations were most impacted by HIV and therefore which ones to include in our campaign. The lessons learned: start the development process really early, test everything, including any creatives that you translate into for your populations that might have limited English proficiency. What's next? This is the campaign I mentioned before, which Carmen participated in 2 years ago. And of course, last December, we launched Play Sure. And in May, we did a little bit of a tweak and included our Play Sure kit. So this coming December, in about 2 weeks, actually next week, we'll be launching our next campaign, which also includes PrEP messaging. And of course, there's a huge team that played a big role in this. Thank you. And my contact information is below.
Great, thank you so much, Adriana. Thank you so much for your work out in New York City, and your ads have been an inspiration to many around the country. With that, I would like to invite Ms. Trina Scott to tell us about Greater Than AIDS and the Empowered campaign. Trina, take it away.
Hello, everyone. So glad to be on this Google Hangout today. So just want to share with you all some of our PrEP campaign resource assets with Greater Than AIDS. So Greater Than AIDS, if you don't know, is one of the premier campaigns that really brings the intersections of domestic epidemic, the domestic epidemic from Kaiser Family Foundation, and we have produced the Empowered campaign that really partners with key leading organizations across the country that focuses on the daily lives of people who are experiencing HIV and also their allies. So what I'm showing you today is just our cross-platform efforts with our Empowered campaign that began about 5 years ago. And here you're seeing our cross-platform online resources. Most of our information is disseminated both on mobile platforms, through our web format, and then also in the greater community. So on this page with the empowered.greaterthan.org, what you will find is for every conversation, we always try to include PrEP and PEP in our dialogue. Here is our PrEP navigation tools. It's the basic information that you can get, the basic facts, and also what we like to do is always navigate people to a PrEP locator where they can find someone who is disseminating PrEP specifically for women near you. Everything that we do is very mobile friendly, and what you will see on the right part of the screen is how it looks on your mobile phone. Here are some of the community assets. We are always trying to advance community level efforts across the country to really bring more attention to the issue. And some of the pictures here is what you see. This past July, we were at Essence Festival, which is one of the largest gatherings of Black Americans across the country. And they have about 500,000 people who come to really experience culture through music and dialogue. And this was the first time that we really had the opportunity to talk about PrEP. We wore t-shirts. All of the counselors and volunteers were engaging in conversations around PrEP. We had mobile-friendly apps where we were able to navigate them in the areas of New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and their respective cities. They also received some water bottles that just gave them basic information on what PrEP is all about and how HIV shouldn't stand in the way of whoever you love. Additional to the community platforms, we have materials that are locally branded for either your organization or for the work that you're doing in your community. We have on most of our basic general information, we are always having conversations around PrEP and navigating each user to the PrEP Navigator locator.
Trina, I just want to say that we're not seeing all of your slides.
No?
No, we're only seeing the first one, so I wonder if we could see you instead.
Oh, That's not fun.
Yeah, I think it just got stuck at the first section.
Okay. Life happens, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'd
so
much rather
also,
see you.
okay. Also, I was just sharing that we have, so this is a great opportunity. In the past 2 years, we've launched 2 additional campaigns targeted for women. One is talking about the intersection of intimate partner violence and HIV for women. And in this particular campaign, we do have conversations where Gina Brown, of which many of that community knows who Gina Brown is, just giving a brief definition of what PrEP is and how we can navigate healthy relationships if women were to access PrEP, if they were in a magnetic or serodiscordant relationship. The additional campaign that we have that we just launched this year is just talking about transgender women and HIV and how PrEP could be utilized as a tool just to have healthy relationships. And we have one of our ambassadors, Phoebe Van Cleef, having that conversation of how PrEP works being on hormones, how does PrEP work being in a relationship, how does PrEP work living in the South, what is the access to that for her. And I think, you know, lastly, I think the final thing is that we always want to say is there are many different intersections on how women, and we use women in a non-binary way, can access PrEP. For all of our campaigns, when we recruit our cast, we ask them what is their knowledge around PrEP, what is their accessibility around PrEP, and how do you think that they could be used or talked with additional women. All right, that's me. Thanks.
Thank you. So sorry, Trina, about the technical difficulties. It seems like we've had a few so far already. But thank you for hanging in there, and thank you for wonderful work at Greater Than AIDS. Y'all are doing really pioneering work just around how we speak about women in a non-binary way, about the intersections around IPV, trans women, how we talk to each other, how we put out these messages. So thank you for all of your work on that. With that, I would like to turn over to Bradford Briggs from PrEPNav New Haven. Take it away, Bradford.
Greetings from Shannon New Haven. My name is Bradford, and I work at AIDS Project New Haven.
Bradford, could you speak a little bit louder?
I work at AIDS Project New Haven, and we have been a grassroots, homegrown organization within the New Haven community for 34 years, working directly with people who are infected and affected by HIV. We got a grant in last year to actually start doing PrEP messaging and build a website, figure out how to drive people to our website, as well as with training clinicians around our area on the PrEP protocols from the CDC. It became obvious, based upon our demographic and our epidemiology, that women had an integral part of this process. So we have about 40+% of our client base are actually women at our agency. So we run support groups for women. So that was a very natural outreach for us, to be able to go to them, even though it's counterintuitive, they are living with HIV. But they also go back to social circles and faith-based organizations and spread the message of that. And that's been something we didn't really necessarily anticipate. Also, going into the community advisory boards of Ryan White funded federally qualified health centers and speaking to them as well, we were able to really put some message out to the social circles, and very insular. We are what is known as a sanctuary city, I think, is the current presidential incoming administration. So we have a lot of Latinx and a lot of immigrants who are very insular, but we've been able to really coordinate with 34 years of experience, being able to kind of work with those populations. So we reached out to people. We formed, well, I didn't. I will give a shout out to Daniel Davidson at the Connecticut Department of Public Health. He has formed a statewide group, a working group, where we all sit down and talk about best way to reach different populations, whether they be adolescents, women, MSM. Our web designer felt that doing a social media-based campaign that would drive traffic to our website, which is fully comprehensive about what PrEP is, how we see funding for PrEP, the team of navigators. Our website has a live chat feature. And he came up with quite a few stock photos that included both men and women. We launched it at a very soft launch in January. We waited to see what the response was, which was very good. So stage 2 was going out into the community and finding community leaders to be included in the photo shoot and then added in so they could be able to share it on their Facebook and therefore expand. So if I could do this properly, I'll show you some of the campaign. All right, this is our first one. The first 3, like I said, are stock photos. We just took color photos, black and white, and then put in different colors and different things that are blue. We also worked with the trans community. I know this conversation is predominantly about cisgender. However, we did include some trans messaging for trans women. This is one of our racial ones that Facebook did not like. We then branched out into people in the community. These are 2 very interesting women and wonderful women who actually volunteer at our agency and are deeply involved in their local communities. This is a trans person or trans woman who is very, very well known and very outspoken in the community about issues surrounding HIV. This is Trina Danvers, who has been living with HIV now for probably 30-some odd years. She is the director of the Yale AIDS program, their AIDS education training center, and that's her husband. They're a serious discordant couple. Here we have our early intervention specialist, her name is Nike, and that's her daughter, Georgie. And then one more trans person, she's wonderful. And that kind of shows the campaign that we did. Let me see if I can drive it back. Screen share. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Good. So yeah, so we were able to, this campaign worked amazingly. People are so involved in their communities. They posted it on their Facebook page, and then got shared, and then got shared, and then got shared. The traffic to the website was driven up dramatically. Between that and also integrating PrEP messaging into our standard testing with the agency. We do quite a few tests on an annual basis. 20 minutes of a captive audience, with immediate referral down to one of us on the PrEP team. We've been able to do a really good job of trying to reach women, or at least educate them about the possibility of it. We have had some things that have not necessarily worked, but I will go into those at a different way, because I think I'm out of time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bradford. Sorry about the sound, everyone. We will have resources for you on our Hangout blog page, and you will be able to access much of what Bradford talked about. I just want to thank you for your work at Nav New Haven. It's been pretty cool to watch. Caroline Watson, who will go next, found out about PrEPNav New Haven and was like, have you heard about this? Here it is. Your images are amazing, beautiful. Your chat feature is very cool. In fact, that's how I got in touch with you first. So thank you for joining us today, and your images are just stunning.
Thank you.
With that, I would like to hand over to my very wonderful colleague, Caroline Watson, to tell us about the Share Your Story campaign at HIVE. Take it away, Caroline.
So, hi everyone, I'm Caroline Watson, the Social Justice and Communications Coordinator at HIVE, a hub of positive sexual and reproductive health. The HIVE blog features stories from people living with or affected by HIV, providers, and advocates, and it's a little over 1 year old. For the first, actually it's about almost 2 years old. For the first year and a half of its existence, we got about 1 consumer per month to share their story. We primarily had stories from married white women of higher socioeconomic status who were trying to have babies. Most of them used a pseudonym and sent us pictures of flowers or clouds for their featured images and authored photos. Over the summer, the HIVE team felt that we needed to expand our reach in order to have a more inclusive blog. We wanted to reach people of color and women who are interested in or using PrEP for reasons besides having a baby with a husband who's living with HIV. We wanted to reach women with multiple partners who inject drugs, who do sex work. We also wanted to provide space for men living with HIV to share their stories around family building. We wanted to find people who would be champions in the fight against stigma. The Share Your Story campaign is the latest iteration of outreach for the HIVE blog, which we started doing over the summer. With the help of the HIVE team, I created flyers, which we hung up at San Francisco General Hospital and other clinics in the Bay Area. We also sent them to our friends at clinics around the country. We used simple language, made sure folks know they do not have to be a writer and that coaching is available, advertised the stipend for bloggers, and made our flyers brightly colored and friendly looking. Here I'm going to show you the flyer. We used a photo of one of our patients. We used a photo of one of our patients with her daughter. A friend of mine very graciously gave me access to images of herself when she was using heroin and doing sex work. The middle image is a stock photo with permission to use and alter commercially. The women in it have a connection to this world and put their photo out there for reasons like this flyer. I also created Facebook ads, which was similar to the flyers. This worked well for reaching men living with HIV and less well for the women we wanted to reach. This is because people living with HIV have a strong online community, and they have shared interests that can be targeted on Facebook through advertising. Women who are using PrEP or who could benefit from it don't have this type of online community, making it very difficult to target them. I have been able to effectively use Facebook to find bloggers, though. I'm in several Facebook groups related to HIV and PrEP, and posting an image from the flyer along with the basic information about sharing your story has been effective. I also pay attention to when women post about their experiences seeking or using PrEP in these groups, and when they do, I introduce myself, share a little bit of my own story as experience as a woman in a serodifferent relationship, and invite them to share their stories on the blog. This has also been effective, and I've been able to link several women to CARE. So this is the HIVE blog, and the Share Your Story campaign was finalized in mid-August, and we've had 15 bloggers, one per week, which we hope to continue throughout the year. 11 of the 15 are women with 4 men. 10 out of the 15 are people of color. 3 of the 4 men have sex with both men and women. 3 women are sex workers, 1 is a swinger, and 7 have multiple partners. 11 used a photo of their face, either as the featured image or as their author pick. 6 used their full names, and we are very excited with the results we've had so far. We will continue to hold this safe space for women and men to share their experiences. Do you know someone with a story worth sharing? Let's connect. I want to hear it.
All right, thank you, Caroline. This has been a labor of love, and it's evident in the proof is in the pudding. The HIVE blog is really awesome. I actually added the URL to the blog in the comments section of the YouTube feed. Go ahead and check it out. And like Caroline said, if you know someone whose story should be heard, let us know. With that, I would like to turn over to Alan, but before I do that, we're going to take a second to attempt something we've never done before on Hangouts with HIVE, which is to play a short piece of the video that Project Inform masterfully created recently. And so I will do that, and I'll switch right over to Alan right after. Let's see. Okay, give me one quick second to figure out my technology here. Okay, now screen share. Boom. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can work this.
There's so much information out there about what women should or shouldn't do to have safe sex. People talk about condoms. There's so much information out there about what women should or shouldn't do to have safe sex. People talk about condoms.
Uh-oh.
I was loving her passion, though.
Why don't we go to you and let's let the video load. Maybe it'll work somewhere at the end of your presentation.
Sure, sure. Well, thank you for trying. But in that is our URL for the video. So I'll flash this up at the end of my presentation. So what was unique about today is that you know, this is a sneak peek of what two videos that we'll be launching next week, one in English and one in Spanish, around enhancing women's health and PrEP. So that's a little teaser, and the URL will be up in the chat very, very soon. So the videos were an extension of what we did 3 years ago with 4 videos that we developed for MSM and young MSM of color. And so we wanted to do the same, you know, for heterosexual women, and mostly because of the dearth of information, awareness campaigns and information specific to women. So we had that experience, and we wanted to do the same, you know, for women. What I would say, if I look back upon this project, the word partnering comes up for me, and you know, choosing those right partners from the get-go was very key to our success. First of all is our funder, Gilead, who thankfully, you know, provides funds without any strings attached for the most part. So that's a really beneficial piece to us getting this project off the ground, that we don't have strings coming along with the funding. The second partner that I would also talk about is our production company, the video company in the East Bay here, called Click to Play Media. The proprietor, Anna Runkle, she's been a long-standing community educator with the video platform, and not only in our interviews with her originally did we find out the breadth of experience she had with video production, but her personal attention to social justice issues. And so that again brought a certain level of ease with getting these videos produced, because she understands, she gets it, and she wants to support it. So we didn't have any barriers as far as you know, a lack of education or a lack of want to get this done for us. So that certainly is another piece to the puzzle as we've developed the videos. The third piece, the third partner, would be our expert guidance. Not only internally in Project Inform, but also externally. We're content experts, but we're not community experts. And so we wanted to engage community experts in a variety of ways. HIVE came along, UCSF came along, and also community members directly. So a couple of things. Working with David Evans, my coworker, he's been, you know, helping me all along as far as content since 2012 with our educational materials. Shannon and Yamini, both here on the Hangout, helped us along the way, as well as Kim Kester at UCSF to help us interview 10 women from the community last year. And so what we did was find 10 women, interviewed 20 some, but whittled it down to the 10 of 3 African American, 3 Latina, and 4 white women. We knew that we wanted to produce 2 videos, one in English and one in Spanish, and because of the limited budget, we wanted to make sure that we reflected the face of HIV infection among the women that were in the video, and so we chose an African American woman and a Latina woman. That focus group actually led us to a great deal of content, and thanks to Kim and Yamini expertly interviewing those individuals, found a great deal of information that we converted into the videos. Sexual health is one key piece. Raising the conversation with the provider is another piece. We got feedback that women were not being asked regularly about sexual health issues, sometimes reproductive issues, but not sexual health issues and STIs and HIV risk. So we wanted to encourage and empower women in order to broach that conversation with their providers. Lots of other content pieces that were gathered from that focus group. So we're very happy to have that, and I think it's a necessary piece of the process whenever you're engaging in an educational piece like this. The last piece is engaging women experts to guide us on the dissemination of the launch. So the launch will be next week on November 29th. We will have as much information as possible out to as many people as possible. So watch us next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. I'm going to make one quick attempt at playing the 30 seconds of the video that I think are so beautiful and so powerful. If it works, great. If not, you will be getting, we already did put the URL information in the chat box. Please check it out yourself. It's also such a labor of love. Here's my attempt at sharing this with you.
There's so much information out there about what women should or shouldn't do to have safe sex. People talk about condoms, right? Oh, just wear a condom every time you have sex. But if we're being real, sometimes it's like, I don't need to wear a condom. I'm in love. But it's later, afterwards. Did I get something? Could I be pregnant? What about HIV? You know, you don't have to live like that. Let me tell you about something you might not have heard about. It's a pill you take daily that can protect you against HIV. It's called PrEP, and that stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis.
All right. Well, that's a little teaser.
That was awesome. Thank you for trying it again.
Yay. Okay. I feel so proud of the work at Project Inform. Thank you for doing it every single day. With that, I'd quickly like to hand over to Miss Courtney Boyce, who joins us from the PrEP for Her campaign out in Washington, D.C. Courtney, take it away.
Thank you, Yamini. I'm very excited to be talking about PrEP for Her, which we launched on July 4th in conjunction with Independence Day with the support of the DC Department of Health. So we wanted to focus primarily on African American women because in the Washington, D.C. area, they're still present in the majority of new HIV cases diagnosed in Washington, D.C. They, African American women also have the second highest rate of new infections here in the district. So it was very important to the DC Department of Health to focus on messaging that resonated with African American women. So with that being said, we knew we had to do our research. We started by partnering with our local community-based organizations, the Women's Collective and Terrific Inc., to really get inside the minds and see if women knew about it, if they knew they were at risk, and what kind of messaging would really resonate with them. So we packed in a church and we packed in a local organization and had about a 90-minute chat with about 50 women and just really dissected kind of their initial reaction when told about PrEP, and then once they got familiar, you know, what were their hang-ups? Were there any issues? What kind of, you know, what would marketing look like to get them interested or just wanting more information regarding PrEP? So just to briefly go over the focus groups, because there's a ton of information, I really noticed that there were 4 phases when it came to these focus groups. First, you know, when the women were informed about PrEP, you know, it was kind of brushed off, that it wasn't really something that was useful to them. It was still very much a gay disease, and they just didn't see themselves taking it or needing it. But then once we started communicate, you know, here in the district, just by being in the district, you're at risk, the women started to warm up to it. You know, they had a lot of questions, you know, side effects, things like that. And then we sort of moved into this next phase where there was a lot of skepticism. You know, things like Tuskegee, even Flint, Michigan were brought up, and we really had to sort of make these women feel better and make them realize that, you know, there's not side effects. You know, this isn't a government experiment, and, you know, it was a very touchy subject. So it was very clear early on that we were going to have to be very delicate with our messaging and come up with something that got their attention, something that was very sex positive and yet conveyed the message very simply. So about that time, the Super Bowl happened, and everyone remembers, you know, Beyonce and, you know, her very, not provocative, but just very strong sort of female empowerment message. And, you know, we went back and forth and we really enjoyed that symbolism. And so we decided to do maybe a play on that. And we noticed in the focus groups too, there was a lot of verbiage like, you know, no apologies or empowerment. A lot of women like this message of dominate when it came to PrEP. So, you know, that got us thinking, and we went back and forth with the DC Department of Health, and we came up with a tagline, dominate your sex life. You know, we wanted something that was obvious. We wanted something that would grab their attention if they saw it on the side of a bus, and we wanted them to want to ask more. So we decided then off of that tagline to come up with 4 very solid, empowering female African-American women images. So we settled on Michelle Obama, Serena Williams, Beyonce, Rihanna, and Erykah Badu. And I'll show you these images, but we picked these women in particular because they represented a very vast, a wide array of powerful women in pop culture right now. You know, we wanted something, again, that would really stand out and speak to them and get them asking questions about PrEP, since they didn't tend to be, you know, very aware of it, or even that it existed or that they needed it. So I'll pull out my presentation to show you a few. And I'll walk you through. So as you can see, you know, we kept our message in super simple. You know, dominate your sex life, find yours at PrEPforher.com. We wanted women to know that there was this option for them and that they were able to take control of their lives and to be happy and to be healthy and, you know, and have fun with it. So we sort of blanketed the city with this messaging and with this advertising. So as you can see, these images are very strong, very powerful women. And
Courtney,
yes?
You don't see your screen share yet.
Hit screen share again.
Yep, and then your PowerPoint presentation. Coaching as we go.
Yes, thank you. Can you see this?
We don't. We see you.
Oh, why isn't it working? Okay, well, I can send this out after. So anyways, I just wanted you to see a bit of creative, you know, that we posted on the sides of buses, in bus shelters. We even put them in the metro fares as people were swiping through. And you know, although it only launched July 4th, we've been getting a lot of positive feedback. Just alone on social media, people are using the hashtag and saying, what? There's an HIV prevention medication? You know, what is this all about? So it's just been really exciting to see the reaction, and people are asking questions and they want to know more. So, you know, what we kind of learned from this campaign is that the information must be super easy to access. There must be a clear call to action, you know, direct them to one website. In this case, it's PrEPforher.org. And you want to really keep the message simple. You know, it's a huge ask to not only try to convince an audience that A, you're at risk, B, you know, you need to go get it at XYZ. We really just wanted to hone them into one website so they could learn more on their own time. And then keep the message positive and have it stand out. We also developed the hashtag so we could constantly measure, we could constantly tweak the campaign and make sure that, you know, we keep it up to speed. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate what you said right at the very end. Keeping it dynamic and changing it as it evolves is so important. And also appreciating what you learn in focus groups. We're over here wondering in our inter Hangout chat box how we can collect these nuggets that everyone has kind of learned from their various focus groups and surveys to kind of make something that has little nuggets for people to learn from. Thank you, Courtney, and thank you,
Absolutely. Thank you
for her. With that, I'd quickly like to turn over to Kate Collier to tell us about Project Street Beat in New York City.
Okay, so thank you so much to HIVE for organizing today's panel. I'm happy to be here with all of you and tell you more about the Your Body Needs You campaign. So I work at Project Street Beat at Planned Parenthood of New York City, and specifically with our Project Street Beat program. Project Street Beat focuses on neighborhoods in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Northern Manhattan that are most impacted by HIV, and operates a mobile medical unit that provides HIV testing, hepatitis C and STI screening, clean syringes, GYN exams, and family planning services. So Your Body Needs You is a social marketing campaign that was originally launched by Project Street Beat in Brooklyn in 2014. We worked with community partners on research to develop the campaign, and also worked with a marketing consultant who developed the graphics. The campaign's goal was to promote sexual health among Black women and Latinas aged 20 to 44 by encouraging HIV and STI testing and safer sex practices. So in 2015, we decided to expand this campaign to the Bronx and revise the action messages to raise women's awareness about PrEP. We felt that women had been missing from the conversation about PrEP, and this campaign, which featured strong, positive female messengers standing on their own, would be very different from existing PrEP campaigns. So to revise the campaign with a PrEP message, we partnered with additional organizations in the Bronx that serve women at high risk for HIV. We conducted 6 focus groups with staff at those organizations, as well as their Black and Latina female clients, the same women that we wanted to reach with the campaign. In the focus groups, we tested several different models and background images, including those we were already using in Brooklyn on bus shelter ads and printed materials. We used stock photo images because we did not have the budget for original photography. We also tested 4 new action messages about PrEP. So based on the feedback that we received in the focus groups, we chose 3 campaign concepts for use in the Bronx. I'm going to try to share my screen with you and see if this will work. So let me just get this open. Okay, so I hope that you're seeing the images.
We are, thank you.
Okay, so these have appeared on bus shelter ads. We have also printed them on posters and postcards that our outreach workers distribute to local businesses, community organizations, and in the course of street outreach. So we chose images of women to use in the campaign that our focus group participants preferred because they were relatable. So full-figured women, not too thin, who looked like people they knew or reminded them of themselves, and who would have broad appeal across ethnic and age groups. So models who looked overly styled or seductive got negative reactions, and models who were smiling and looked approachable were said to reduce women's fear about HIV testing. So the action message, which you see, PrEP is a pill to prevent HIV, get tested and ask about it. That's what appears in the upper right corner of each image. I'm just going to take these down for a second. Okay, so we landed on that message because our group participants felt it was short, easy to read, and balanced, giving information with a call to take action. So participants in our focus groups felt strongly about referring to PrEP as a pill. They said we need to be clear about this since few women know what PrEP is and the name can be confusing. So a message that defines PrEP is most suitable when speaking to women. And highlighting the fact that PrEP is a pill was also said to be especially important so that women will know it is a method that they can use privately without partner negotiation. So Your Body Needs You was launched in the Bronx back in April of this year. Since then, the images have appeared on bus shelters and printed materials and have been disseminated into the community by our staff. Now that PPNYC has started offering PrEP in its health centers and plans to begin offering it on Project Street Beat's mobile medical unit in the coming months, we are also in the process of doing research to test some more detailed educational messages about PrEP for women. So we hope to have that work complete by the end of this year. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Kate. Project Street Beat, all on its own, is such a cool program. And I feel like your messaging is so relatable. I myself feel like I relate to So thank you, Planned Parenthood New York City, and thank you, Kate, for sharing that work with us. I will go ahead and share a short video again from Prep for Love out in Chicago. Let's hope this works. And then we'll turn over to Jim to tell us a little bit about Prep for Love. Jim, I wonder if we could do the same thing and have you go and then see if I can reload the video.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, the Hangout is just not loving our videos today, but I have put the link to our video in the YouTube chat box already so people can check it out later. So I'm representing the Prep for Love campaign, which is a campaign that launched in Chicago in February of 2016. We've talked a lot about partners today. This is definitely all about partners. We did this with the Chicago PrEP Working Group, which has over 200 members. We formed a subcommittee of that, representing about 18 different organizations in our city, including the health department. And we wanted to reach 3 distinct populations: gay Black men, transgender women of color, and African-American cisgender women. And at first we were rather daunted about how we might do that, how we might actually bring in these populations to have one unified message. And we really hit on pleasure and intimacy, love, lust, desire, all things that we can relate to with regards to sex and the kind of sex we want to have. And that goes across gender, goes across race, it goes across age. We all want to feel intimacy. We may define that differently, but we all want to feel that. So that's what we landed on. We ended up with 4 different pairs of models. So we have 2 gay male couples, a couple that features a trans woman, and then a couple with a cisgender man and woman, all African American. The majority of our epidemic in Chicago, like much of the country, is African American, so we wanted to focus there. We hired models, or we cast models from the community. So we have real bodies in our campaign. If you take a look, you'll see real bodies, not overly styled. And we also looked at people's social media followings, their Facebook interaction. Were they active as activists or advocates in whatever topic? We wanted people who were engaged in their community to help us deliver these messages around PrEP. Unlike some campaigns, we do not figure condoms front and center. We have a paragraph or 2 about condoms on our website, prepforlove.com. But we didn't want to have our main messaging focus on condoms because we figure the majority of people for whom PrEP is really an important option are people who have already stopped using condoms or don't want to use condoms. The campaign includes print, digital, and all kinds of other social media assets. And a huge chunk of what we do has been about live events. And if we can show that at the end, we'll try it one more time. But we do these Prep for Love live events. And the video we want to show you is called Black Joy, which was an event we did in October of this year for women, inclusive of trans women. At this event, we have a photo booth where people can kind of become part of the campaign and take their own picture and choose one of 4 overlays, which are the 4 key messages of our campaign that speaks to pleasure. So we have spread tingle, contract teats, catch desire, and transmit love. Those 4 are the key messages, and then people, when they're getting their own picture taken in the photo booth, can choose if they want to be spread tingle or catch desire, or they can come back time and again and get all 4, whatever you want to do. And then we get them, we hope they will share them across the web, and that helps expand our message and expand our reach. Some key messages, I think, are definitely partners. We wouldn't have been able to do this without pro bono and volunteer support from professional advertising agencies who helped us. We couldn't have come up with all of this on our own. So I think it really behooves everyone to try to look at the assets in your community and reach out to ad agencies. They're usually very happy to do interesting pro bono work. And relish the chance to do something that's fun and exciting, as opposed to always, selling cars or dishwashing soap. Not that those aren't exciting. It's not as exciting as PrEP, though, let's be real. And finally, I think you can do a lot of planning, but you need to be a willow and bend and not break, because so all your best laid plans will undoubtedly change. You will undoubtedly be faced with various challenges. we did not want to launch in February of 2016. It's kind of a crazy time to want to launch in Chicago. We got stuck with it, and we made the best of it by playing off of Valentine's Day, which feeds into PrEP for Love, and the fact that it's African American History Month. There's the African American HIV Testing Day in February. So we made it seem as if it was all a big plan, but it wasn't actually. We just got stuck with February based on going backwards and how long everything would take. I think I'll take a pause and see if that video might work. And if not, I can just wrap up.
Great. Jim, can you place yourself on mute so that the sound quality is really better?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Intimacy is a practice. It's when you are able to show a part of yourself that you don't show anyone else.
It's something that allows you to have a personal and private connection with someone who means something to you. PrEP in general, it really allows us to not only fuck without fear, but get that much closer to intimacy.
It honestly starts with us prioritizing for ourselves and then creating spaces in the community where we can kind of talk about it. So things like what's happening tonight, I think this is like really where it starts. It is a push to help us to understand sexual health and using 1 pill a day in order to prevent HIV.
It's good to have parties and moments like this because it helps you to find bliss. It's a nice moment of like, I'm just gonna bliss out right now. Go and dance, I'm gonna have a drink, make out with somebody, take somebody home. I don't know, take a few people home. Hey, go, hey, whatever you want to do.
When we met, we went back Italy. What you had in store was there for only me. Surely you know you took me by surprise.
That was amazing. Would you like to wrap up, Jim? I don't hear you. Oh, there we go. We don't hear you. All right, I think we'll go to a couple of questions. First of all, I just want to thank folks for participating today and engaging with us. It's such a great way in the YouTube live page. I also want to invite you once again to use the hashtag #WhereIsMyPrep. We are actually running out of time, but I would like to just ask a couple of the questions that did come in. One of them being about, going through. One of them being for Courtney and the Prep for Her campaign specifically, but in general kind of being relevant to everyone and the way that you tested out your messaging and your images with women, and have you tested out your images and your messaging with women living with HIV, women whose sexuality has been vilified? Could it be used for task promotion as well? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
So the question was, have we tested out the imagery with women who are already HIV positive? Oh, no, and that's only because they're not the target audience with this particular campaign. We're looking to target HIV negative women 25 to 45 for this particular campaign. I really do think that would require another host of messaging, in particular, a whole nother campaign, because yeah, the messaging was developed with HIV negative women in mind. So yeah.
So this is Trina, and I could say that within the Empowered campaign, with the trans women and also with the women who have experienced intimate partner violence, many of those women are living with HIV and talk about their experience navigating relationships with someone who is on PrEP.
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
I can say a bit about the partners we worked with for our focus groups. So we worked with a program that provides case management services for women who are at high risk for HIV, who are HIV negative. We worked with a program that is an alternative to our incarceration program that may be serving women who are in that program due to a prostitution or drug-related offense. We also worked with an intimate partner violence program, and we worked with a homeless shelter for adult women.
Great. Thank you, Kate. I would like to ask another question that came in from our colleague here at SFEPH, Nicole. She asks, how do we screen women who are unaware that their current partner is also having sex with men? This is relevant for many women, of course, and how can we ensure that these women don't fall through the cracks? Does anyone have any thoughts about women who are partnered with men who have sex with men?
I'm happy to say something about that. I think my experience is that many women do know that or suspect it, and there's lots of women who are okay with it. So one, let's make space for people who have a variety of relationships and desires and things in life. Secondly, we won't know till we start asking the question. So if we can ask the question open-ended, and if the woman answers, I don't know, that's an open door too. And then the other thing would be operationalizing what else you know about STIs for your local epidemic. So if, for example, in San Francisco, if a woman is diagnosed with syphilis, you know, this is a huge flag for us. And we don't have to categorize her in like, you have a partner who has sex with men, unless that's something that she wants and she's proud of. We can go in and offer prevention messaging and be really supportive about, you know, where she is and where she wants to go next. And then lastly, I would say we don't know all the answers. We have a lot more to learn.
Cool. Anyone else have thoughts on that? Shannon, I really appreciate you saying that it's time that we made space for women who are interested in engaging in all kinds of relationships, and that we're not necessarily pathologizing the way that people interact with their partners or know about each other's activities. So thank you for that.
I would add one other thing. In our work on our PrEP for Women information booklet, as well as a little bit from the focus group that we did last year, I think not shaming not only women for having relationships with men who may be having sex with other men, but not shaming those men, so that it's a two-level piece there, that not only their decision to be with this person in their lives, but also not shaming those people that are in their lives, trying to make that as nurturing as an interview, a medical case interview as possible.
Thank you, Alan, because that is a very important piece of this as well. How can we build bridges rather than sort of constantly put each other in various boxes? There's one other question that I think is interesting and important. Thanks, Anna Forbes, for participating. And this is more about focus groups that you might have participated in or surveys you might have conducted. Did you find that women have reservations around coming in for many appointments every 3 months or whatever the case may be, for checkups and for refills? Did you feel like that? Did you hear that that was a barrier for women in their understanding around PrEP? Does anyone have thoughts on that?
With the focus groups that we did, it was never brought up. I think that they know with a medication like this, it takes maintenance. So we explained, you would have to come into your doctor regularly, and they seem to understand that, you know, taking this pill is a huge undertaking. And so the maintenance wasn't so much of an issue as trying to get them to understand that they're at risk and this may be something that they need to consider. But as far as we saw, doctor's visits were not a barrier.
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I can say from operationalizing at the clinic level, so I don't know about this from focus groups, but in the clinic, for women who are juggling multiple priorities, it absolutely comes into play. But that would be, you know, that's not an issue with PrEP, it's the multiple priorities. So a woman who's substance involved, is living on the street, maybe pregnant, you know, these things, she's juggling a lot, and it's so important to have an ally like Miranda Nordell who can do the outreach, or in San Francisco, we have a homeless outreach team. They'll only help if the woman is pregnant and at risk. If you're not pregnant, then, you know, you will still fall through the cracks. But I think that that's something that we have to think about more. That would be like the phase beyond this awareness, is once you get to the clinic, then how is it that we're truly supporting the women most vulnerable who are really juggling a number of priorities?
Thank you, Shannon. Kate, did you still want to say something about that?
If you want to wrap up for time, that's okay.
Do you want to share real quick?
Well, I would just say, you know, we did hear resistance definitely about taking a pill. You know, that is something that is challenging for people. And then, of course, thinking ahead to the doctor visits that would need to go along with that, especially when we spoke with staff who work with women who are survivors of intimate partner violence and may have an abusive or violent partner. They may need to hide the medication or the fact that they're taking the medication, and this might be hard to conceal, and they would need to do planning with them around that. So that's just an extra consideration.
Thank you all so much for your inputs. I'd like to go ahead and begin to wrap up. This has been a really amazing conversation. There's so much pioneering that has happened, and I'm so honored to be able to capture a piece of it here today with you all. We went a little bit over time, but how can you put 9 giants in a hangout room and expect it to end on time? Again, thank you all very much. I feel like time will tell what happened, what comes of all of our work, all of our blood, sweat, and tears that have been put in to create more awareness, more PrEP awareness for women nationally. We'll know the impact through data that is yet to come, but thanks to all of your work, the uptake of PrEP among women hopefully will be on the rise. I would like to go ahead and thank you individually, Adriana Andaluz from the Play Sure campaign, NYC, Alan McCord, Project Inform, Bradford Briggs at PrEPNav New Haven, Caroline Watson at HIVE, Courtney Boyce at Octane and the PrEP for Her campaign, Jim Pickett at AIDS Foundation of Chicago, Kate Collier at Planned Parenthood NYC, Shannon Weber at PrEPNav.org, Trina Scott at Greater Than AIDS, and myself, Yamini Oseguera-Bhatnagar at HIVE. Thank you all for tuning in. This was Hangouts with HIVE.